This is a special primetime edition. Have faith. Let it begin, and Endless Hope Inc. presents a new series entitled Personal Testimonies. Here is your host, Angel Santana, and special co-host, Clinton Knapp.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what we're going to call the final chapter of Chapter 1, Endless Hope and Have Faith, Let It Begin, Personal Testimonies. Don't read too much into what I just said, but we are coming down to the end of this story of Clinton Knapp. But trust me when I tell you, we're not done. So without further ado, I've got Clinton Knapp here to my left. We are seriously excited about this episode. I know I am, because I don't know how the story ends. But see, I always call him the doctor. You know what it is? He's all dressed up in his merch today. He looks professional. He's excited to deliver another part. So this is Chapter 1, Episode 8. We haven't titled it yet. We don't usually do it till the end. So without further ado, we left off, Clinton, with you describing the fresh air, or I should say breath of fresh air. Can you give us a little bit of that ending one more time, and then by all means take us on and bring us home, my friend?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we left off with me finally getting my first step outside, and as I mentioned, I took my first breath of fresh air in what was just a few short weeks, but seemed like a lifetime. So now here I am standing in front of the hospital, well, sitting in a wheelchair because they don't let you, they want to be safe. So sit. So here I am in front of the hospital waiting for my chariot, my little Honda Civic that the wife drove at the time, to pull up, because she had went to the parking lot to grab it. And I'm just anxious to get home, anxious for what's to come, anxious to just see my little boy. And she pulls up, she gets out, she comes around, and she opens up the door for me. And you're thinking, oh, how sweet. She opens up the passenger side door. Yeah, well, it was sweet, but it wasn't the door you're thinking. It's the back door. So because of being fresh after having a transplant, I can't sit in the front seat of the vehicle. I have to sit in the back seat. As a safety precaution, God forbid she gets into an accident or anything, my wound is still fresh. Nothing is healed. It's just, some scabs. So I climb into the back seat, and I mentioned before having a pillow. They had given me a heart-shaped pillow, and the doctors had signed it. So the purpose of that pillow is to put it in between myself and the seatbelt, in case, God forbid, she has to slam on the brakes, the seatbelt tightens, squeezes, doesn't put too much tension on my chest. So I place my pillow, my seatbelt's on, and say my final goodbyes. Well, not final, but final for this trip, to doctors and nurses, and off we go. First car ride in a few weeks. The last ride I had was in the back of an ambulance on a stretcher. So I was enjoying it. It was amazing to look out the window and see the scenery that I hadn't seen in so long, and watching cars go by and the clouds whizzing through the sky. And it was just a beautiful sky, because we were just getting over, mind you, it's still the beginning of May. Second week, third week into May. So we're just getting over winter. So spring's coming, and I get to see there's still some residual snow on the ground, but you can see the blossoms on the trees, and birds that have been gone all winter are starting to come back. So I just really enjoyed the ride, and it took in the finer things in life that we tend to take for granted.
Now, this trip, real quick, and without giving out information, it's personal. This was you're about 90 miles from home. Is that correct? About that?
About that, yes.
Okay, so when a 90 miles away on a regular, A and B type of travel would make anybody go, okay, but this has got to be one of the longest drives home, because you're excited.
Oh, you're not lying. It felt like forever. But again, I was enjoying it. But it definitely felt like a lifetime. Music was on. Me and the wife are talking, so I'm enjoying the ride. As we get closer to home, I start to see a lot of familiar things, um, restaurants, and now I'm saying home, but unfortunately for me, I'm not going straight home. I have to go and stay with my mother in her house for a few days because of insurance purposes. I needed to reside with her for my insurance versus in my actual hometown where I'm living at that point in life. Um, so I'm going on my way to my mother's house where I will stay for a few days for to meet with some doctors and stuff like that. Some follow up visits at home. So now we're a few minutes out, and I'm just so anxious. I'm ready to jump out the car and run. I think I could probably beat her there if I'm on foot than driving because of course, you want to go someplace and you're in a hurry. So what happens? You hit every red light, and everybody's driving slower than normal, and it's like you're ready to jump out of your skin. Um, we get to the parking lot of my mother's house. She lived in an apartment complex at the time, and I couldn't. I don't even think the car was in park, and I was out the car and running inside to where my mother awaited with my sister and my father and my son. I ran right inside, and I had seen during this ordeal. I had seen my mother, my father, my sister, so it wasn't like I was missing them. I hadn't seen my son, so I ran right in, snatched him up, and gave him a hug like you would not believe. I almost didn't want to put him down. I don't think I did for a while. Um, so now everybody's happy to see me. Some people who couldn't come and visit me in the hospital are coming over and stuff like that. But at the same point, we need to be extra cautious because I am just getting home from having a heart transplant. So I can't do certain things. No restaurants. If I go out in public, I need to wear a mask, and I say that now and you think, oh, it's nothing, it's just a mask. But back in 2009, and remind you, my transplant was 15 and a half years ago. Back in 2009, it wasn't common to go into a grocery store and see somebody wearing a surgical mask. It was like, people looked at you like you were crazy. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, oh my God, this guy's got something. And in all reality, I'm trying to protect myself from you who may have something because whatever you may have that's not hurting you could really hurt me. The night goes by very fast. It seemed like too fast. Um, we stay. The next morning, I get up. I have some things I need to take care of. I'm waiting for a nutritionist to come by. We're going to talk about my diet and what I should not eat, things like that. Also, a nurse is going to come by for at home physical therapy, and then another nurse to just check for like wound care and stuff like that. I have to see these nurses for just a few short weeks, but in the same time, once a week, I have to go back and forth to Westchester for. At that time, I'm so far out that I don't do these often. So at that time, it's biopsy and catheterization all in one. So I get up, new day, first day home, first day waking up in a real bed, not a hospital bed. I'm not hearing beeping, nobody waking me up all night. Oh, sorry to bother you. I just got to check your blood pressure or check this or check that. So it was nice to sleep in my own bed. Well, not really my own bed, but in a bed that wasn't a hospital bed and didn't make noises and movements when you moved. Um, so I wake up the next morning refreshed, ready to go, and I'm up earlier than usual, but that's because I'm used to. I've spent the last couple of weeks in the hospital, so I'm up 6, 7 o'clock. I'm the crack of dawn, and the lights sun rises, and so do I. So I get up, and nobody else is really up, so I just slowly mosey around the house. I mean, I'm looking for my son, but he's asleep, and I don't, I want to wake him up so I can hold him and hug him, but I know that the right thing to do is to let him get his rest. So as much as I want to be selfish, I have to be patient. So I just go downstairs and I get a drink, and I'm sitting and relaxing and watching some TV. And I believe my father was no, my sister was sleeping in the living room to let me use her room at that time. Um, So she gets up and she has a cup of coffee and we're talking. She's asking me how I feel, and I feel great. I'm a little nervous about what's to come because this is all very, very new to me. I mean, new to all of us. But I'm ready, and I just want to do it. I just want to live life, get back to some form of normalcy. Because I mean, realistic, realistically, what is normal? Yeah, I mean, nobody really knows. I mean,
And I, at this point, I have so many questions, and if it's okay with you, Clinton, I would like to take you back a little bit.
sure,
We both have in common, we both have sons.
yes,
And as we're recording this, I have my 2-year-old son behind me, and as you're describing yourself coming home and holding on to your son, I'm thinking to myself that I'll be at work for 7 hours, 8 hours a day, and I miss my kids. I cannot even begin to imagine what that must feel like to 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 know that your son is growing up and you're not able to be there to witness that. And at the same token, you're probably thinking, what am I missing? So my first question to you is, yes, of course, when you got home, you picked him up, you held him, but was there a sense of, as you can hear my son now, as was there a sense of 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 joy? I mean, obviously, I know you want to see your son and all that, but was there a sense of completion that, okay, yes, not only am I home, but I have my son in my hands?
yeah, absolutely. I felt like all that I was working towards and working for, I had achieved it. It was like setting a long term goal or even a short term goal. It was like setting a goal in front of yourself to reach. I felt like I had reached it. And I really hadn't, because reaching my goal at this point would be enjoying my son, watching him grow. I had only reached a part of it. Getting back to him was the main part. And so yes, there was a lot of joy there. I felt great. I felt like I had done something that I never thought I could.
We had a question that did come in, so there's a two-part question to this. So I held on to this question on purpose because I wanted to record it because it applied to this segment, and I've been
Okay.
holding on to it. So I apologize for holding a question from you, but it
No, go
applies to
ahead.
this. And that is your, and it was, this is, I'm going to paraphrase it because it was a pretty lengthy question. But the paraphrase is like this: your girlfriend, which we all know now, of course, that has become your fiance. They wanted to know, were you guys in the process of preparing for marriage when all this went down, or were you just, or were you even engaged during this time? Because people wanted to know, my God, it would be like it would be crazy to find out that you were not only were you dealing with a heart issue, you probably were dealing with wedding preparations, and they wanted to know about that.
Good question. Because there was a lot of misunderstanding there when I was in the hospital at this time. Um, so I had previously, I want to say a year or two prior, I had asked my girlfriend at the time to marry me, but I didn't do it in a traditional sense because where I came from, I didn't have that. Like my parents weren't married; they were just together forever. You know what I mean? I mean, I had aunts and uncles that were married, but for the most portion of my family, they were just together. It was common law marriage. It wasn't, what church bells and that type of marriage. So when I had asked my fiance, my girlfriend, to marry me, she said, "Yeah, but we were kids." So it was more in my eyes, it was my fiance. In her eyes, it was probably more of like a promise ring type of thing. Um, so yes, we did. I did tell people, nurses and doctors, that she was my fiance. It was at which point during, actually, believe it or not, during the my recovery time, I didn't mention this because I was anticipating that the question would come. It was during my recovery time that I had written a letter to my father-in-law, who I didn't see much. I think I had only seen him once before transplant when I was in Westchester. I had written a letter to him explaining to him exactly how I felt about his daughter and asking him for her hand in marriage. Um, which when I came home, he had told me yes, but we had everything, because of what had happened. Everything was just delayed and pushed off. So at that point, yeah, she was my girlfriend, in my eyes, my fiance. So there was no wedding preparations, but there was, yeah, she was my fiance.
So now the questions get a little more difficult. So another person asks, um, at this point in time, there are times in relationships when a situation will arise where one partner will say, I don't know if I can get involved in this because, and I pardon the way that I'm going to express this, and I'm sorry about my son in the background, but hey, you know what? We're a family show.
Yeah,
So here's my
don't
question to you.
apologize.
Here's my question to you. And I pardon the way this is going to come across. I'm going to try to word it in a way that I can explain it. Um, was there at any point in time where you, because I can't speak for your wife, we'll have her on the show in the future, but was there any point in time where you felt she could walk away from me because I have a health issue that could possibly make her think I may not be around? And that's one of the questions that did come up.
So yes, I mean, and I speak about this quite often today when I talk to people about my wife and our relationship. And you know, all too often you see relationships are tested by certain trials and tribulations, and one partner walks away because it's like, oh, hold on, I can't handle this. This is not what I signed up for. This is just too much for me. And they walk away, whether there's a child or not involved. um, it's even more sad when there is a child involved, and it does happen quite often. And people, we tend to not speak on it too much. So for me, there was some worry there that may happen. But at this point, me and my my girlfriend, who we had already been together for, 9 years. So I met my wife in 2000, January of 2000, when I moved back to New York from Florida. So me and her had already been in a relationship for 9 years. So this was a big test, and we withstood it. I mean, no test can't be
Yeah, thank
passed.
God you had the longevity. But yes, even longevity, you could find yourselves in backed up in a corner. And I appreciate your honesty,
Absolutely.
to your questions. For those of you that are listening, obviously with us, he didn't know I was going to ask these questions. We were
No,
very,
not at
very,
all.
we were very clear that we were going to make this as authentic as possible, and that's how we decided to do this platform. But I want to say, just real quick before I know we'll eventually have a closing later, but I just want to say for your wife that's listening, I personally, and I know our viewers are really, really proud of her for really stepping up and just being there for you, as well as raising, a child while going through all that. Kudos to her.
Absolutely. Um, I wouldn't I wouldn't take that from her. She is a very strong individual, and she has proven to be even stronger just standing by my side through it all. Because it would just be so much easier to say, you know what, we can do this separately because people do it all the time. Um, so you go your way, I'll go my way, and we just co-parent. And she didn't. She stood by my side, and she believed in me. She believed in us, and for that, I am thankful. I'm eternally thankful. I mean, even to this, like I said, I talk about it all too much, even today, when a lot of people ask that question. And um, even when I give relationship, it's funny because somebody had just asked me the other day, marriage, and when do I feel like, when's the right time for people to get married? And I said, I feel like the first 1 to 5 years of your relationship is for me, what I call the honeymoon stage. I mean, puppy love. I mean, you don't have to be in school to be in puppy love. You can be grown, you can be 50s and 60s and find puppy love. Um, so for me, I feel like the first 1 to 5 years is you're getting all that playful beginner's love, first love or second love, third love, whatever it is, but new love situations, all of that, you're getting all of that out the way. You're still learning who each other are. I mean, there's still to this day, I learn new things about my wife. I think the first 1 to 5 years is, like I said, it's that puppy love stage. And then after that, now you're really getting into really knowing somebody. You're like, because now it's like, oh, okay, we've been together for this long. Secrets that you may have, skeletons you may have had in your closet you didn't want out, are starting to come out. See, you're starting to express. deep secrets that you thought you would never tell him or her. So now that next couple years is the truthful years. And then after that is when you decide, okay, you know what? I felt like after 9 years, 10 years, okay, we got this. We've been through thousands of tests, millions of trials and tribulations, and we've passed it all. And for our situation, being with a man who was basically given a death sentence, and she learned that okay, he's gonna die, and she still stood by my side and stuck through it all, and the outcome turned out to be totally different than what they thought or what they had said. And here we are, 15 and a half years. No, I'm sorry. 15 and a half years later, 24 years together, 7 years married. So, I mean, we have time like, I mean, my parents probably haven't even been, well, no, they've been together just a little bit longer, probably like 10 years longer.
You have what they would call endless hope, endless
Yeah,
love.
you ain't lying. You are not lying.
Now listen, I don't want to cut this short. But I know that there's more to tell, and I know that we kind of zigzagged a little bit, because I wanted you to be prepared for the questions.
Of
But
course.
this is not where we end. It is where I'd like to end today, and I'm going to tell everybody why. Without getting too detailed, we're going to now take this personal testimony slash story of Clinton Knapp into a different direction. We're going to start to talk to Clinton about things that he has left out, things that happened after he got home, more things that transpired, because the purpose of the personal testimonies for us to describe your story was to share with every single person the journey that led us to your heart transplant. So, for those of you that are listening to us tonight for the first time, we really encourage that you go back. Go back, because this has been
Absolutely.
8 episodes of an amazing journey. The episodes started out, and we did episode number 1, where we actually got to meet Clinton and his wife, but that's not the actual personal testimonies beginning. See, the actual episodes began with the title The Beginning. And then we went
Yes.
on and we did the diagnosis. And then we went on and did the unexpected turn. Then we did I Want a Heart. And then we heard Yes, I Can. And just last week we heard Breath of Fresh Air. And tonight we will we will name this one. I think it's probably going to be fitting. It'll be called I'm Going Home. But we don't know yet. So whatever the title is, you will understand it then. So Clinton, I would like to give you the floor to end the actual story as we get us prepared for the next chapter of this story. We're going to conclude chapter 1 with episode 8. When we return, we're going into chapter 2.
So I would conclude this chapter with yes, I think that I'm going home is fitting because in the beginning I said I was going home and I didn't go home. I went to my mother's. Now, just a few days later, after meeting with the physical therapist and the dietitian, I'm actually going home to my house with my family. And that is where this story definitely ends. But it's not the ending. You have to hear what comes in the next 15 and a half years. I mean, as I mentioned to Angel privately a couple weeks ago, or even I believe it was last week, I think the next step of personal testimonies for my story should be the question Q&A segment, and we should call it the Wonder Years on my half.
And that's where we're going to end it today. Everybody have faith, let it begin. We're going to ask each and every one of you to flood, and I mean flood, our emails. I will be putting Clinton's email on the description page along with mine. You can even go to havefaithletitbegin.com. Is your email on your website as well?
Yes, there's an email there and a phone number, and there's everything.
Why don't you plug
So
that?
So you can go to my webpage, www.endlesshopedonations.com. And everything you need to know about me and contacting me is there. There's a phone number. There's my email. If you at the bottom, there's a little icon. You can click my Facebook, my Instagram. You don't have to send it to me. Just email, text, phone call, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger. I don't care.
So we are asking everyone to flood us with questions. Please do not feel like any question is not up for discussion. We're going to open it up and we're going to answer every single one. So if there's 50 questions, we're going to go for 50 answers and we're going to answer them
Absolutely.
to the best of our ability. Listen,
Nothing
Clinton,
too personal.
yeah, it has been truly an honor to get to know you. It is truly an honor to sit beside you via Zoom and listen just like everyone else about your story.
Yeah, see,
Unfortunately,
that's
yeah.
the good thing is that I'm sure most of these people, the listeners, probably think that you already knew the story. Well, Angel has not lied not once through this whole testimony. He has learned my story right along with the rest of you, and he will continue to learn.
And a lot of people are going to say, well, then how did you guys get linked up? Well, that's the part of chapter two that it's going to get us started into what is the unfortunate part of why the story continues. And a lot of it has to deal with his son. And I'm going to leave it that way. For Have Faith Let It Begin and Endless Hope Inc., my name is Angel. This is Clinton Knapp on the left, and chapter one is now over. We'll see you next week for chapter two. Hope you enjoyed these 8 episodes of personal testimonies. We're now heading into chapter 2. Before we do that, we're asking each and every one of you to flood us with all your questions. It's going to be a Q&A special next week, and we want to answer all of your questions before we actually begin chapter 2. From all of us here, we wish you nothing but the very best. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Have Faith family. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. Visit our website, havefaithletitbegin.com. We would love to hear your feedback.